Okay, good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Olawumi Adile. I'm just going to be taking us through the Scrum ceremonies today. So, okay, the system has refused to move. So I'll be taking us through Scrum ceremonies. And before I go to the next thing, anybody can unmute to answer this. Who knows the popular saying about, um, for example, planning? Who knows the popular saying about planning? Anybody? Feel free to unmute.
Okay. He who fail to plan to fail.
Who is that genius? Let me see.
This is Emmanuel.
So, hi, Emmanuel. So, really, I think is one of the things I like telling everybody when it comes to Scrum ceremony. This is not even specifically about sprint planning or anything. Anything you try and do and you put over familiarity with it, you might not get it, you might not ace it. Just try to always plan yourself. I just felt I should put that out there before we proceed. So, let's go. Because of understanding, I will just try and touch on some other things before we jump into the ceremony. And like I said, we'll be mindful of time. So this is 8:10. So let's shoot and see how fast we can go. So I just wanted to give us a background knowledge of some of these things. So we don't just jump into the ceremonies. You don't know what is even bringing about us doing ceremonies. Hence the reason why I'm going to go through some of this. So I'll just start with what we are here for, trying to learn and absorb what Agile is all about, and then specifically Scrum, right? So, what's Agile project management? So, I'll just say it as it is. Using the APM guide, Agile project management, it's Agile specifically is an iterative approach of delivering a project through a life cycle, right? So when we say iteration, don't let it throw you off. Iteration is more like repetition, redoing things, following things in an order, like something you do continuously, like repetitive. So just for us to be able to deliver things to customers in a repetitive form, but incrementally. So that's where incremental comes in when it comes to agile. So we have one of the key things you shouldn't forget. If you have your notes or anywhere you want to type, just be picking one or two of these words because we will need to learn buzzwords in everything we do. So as much as I'm explaining what Scrum ceremonies and everything is about, I'll be telling us some of the things we should know, like our buzzwords, the things you will need to be saying from day to day, and it takes time for it to be part of you. So try and ensure that you're picking some of these things. Please, if you're not muted, kindly mute. Thank you. So iterative is saying repetitive. It's the same thing as saying sprint, something you do continuously, while increment is something you're adding something. Just that's one of the things I like about Agile Scrum. Just listen to the English words. It actually relates to what they're talking about. So increment, additional, adding something. So there's constant collaboration with stakeholders and continuous improvement at every phase. So that's what Agile is about, right? Just going for the pecs. So what's the framework in Agile? In Agile, we have several frameworks. So the one we're going to concentrate on in Blue Sky is Scrum framework, right? So we have other ones like SAFe. SAFe is same as Scaled Agile. That's just doing Agile in a very complex environment, as simple as that. XP is extreme programming, those that do programming. We have Kanban. Kanban is like a continuous process. You don't need to do all the ceremonies that will be done in Scrum. Lean on the other side is used by many manufacturing companies because they're just trying to remove waste. See the word lean. I know lean might not really mean the thing in this matter, but they are just trying to say lean in the sense of we are just trying to avoid waste in general. So there are other ones, Crystal, TDD, FDD. If you want to learn about them, I've said it on the first time I spoke to you guys. You need to get to improve yourself and learn it on your own. What is Scrum? So Scrum in itself is a framework of rules. I always like this definition because it encompasses everything in Scrum. If you don't know Scrum, if you look at this definition from Scrum Guide, this is the definition from the Scrum Guide, right? It just captures everything we do in Scrum. Scrum is a framework of rules, roles, events, and artifacts used to implement agile projects. So when we talk of the rules, like um, um, the empirism in Scrum and all that, those are some of the things we follow. Our values in Scrum, all those kind of things are rules. Then for roles, roles is what you're here for, to understand your role, right? For example, you want to be a scrum master, you want to be a business analyst, you want to be a data analyst, you want to be an APM, you want to be a quality tester. All those things are all roles. Events are the things you want to learn now. Event is the same as ceremonies, like scrum ceremonies. So we have, you'll see them as it comes up. So we have our sprint planning, we have our sprint review, we have daily stand-up, we have retrospective, we have, please excuse me. So we'll get to see them as we go on this journey with me. So it emphasizes teamwork, that's Scrum in itself, because everybody's collaborating together, we're working together, we're accountable for what we are doing as a team. So anything you're doing in Scrum, please just remember the word team, team, team. Anything you do, any decision you make, remember the word team, team, team. So that's it. I said I'm going to be very fast, so I won't go so deeply into anyone. So Scrum is also an iterative approach, consisting of sprints that typically only last for 1 to 4 weeks. So it depends on what you do in your organization. Some organizations, they do 1 week sprint, some organizations do 2 week sprint, some 4 week sprint. So with the objective of continuously improving a particular product, that's where that increment comes in. Increment, in itself is just saying usable versions of a product, something you want to add to an existing product, usable versions of a product. That's what increment is. So that's that. I already spoke about the Scrum Guide, so I won't need to go into details of what the Scrum Guide is. So Scrum Guide is just, a couple of developers, they came together. I won't call them couple, there are quite many, if not mistaken, about 17 of them, but two majorly spearheaded it. They just came together and, published the Scrum Guide. And since then, it has been changed from time to time. If you want to read about the Scrum Guide, just go into Google and type Scrum Guide 2020. You see there. There's 2018, there's 2020, which is the more recent version. And even that 2020 has been revised a bit, but they have not brought out like something full that I can hold on to. So I'll just put it as, just go check 2020. You should be able to get, one of the few things they changed is from calling us servant leader, they've changed it to true leaders, amongst other things. So that's that. So also, I spoke about empirism. Empirism is transparency, inspection, and adaptation. I always tell people, try and use acronyms to hold this into your head. Like for me, I say it's TIA. Some people will call it AIT, whatever it is, you need to know this. For example, if you go for interviews and somebody tells you what is empirism in Scrum or mention something, sometimes they won't even ask you this. It's not like you're going for a question and answer session, but they might say something that you need to use one of these buzzwords, to show transparency, or to inspect us as a team or something. So please try and learn some of these things and hold on to these buzzwords. So transparency is just talking as clean as, I'll be using something to refer to it. Transparency is, for example, when you learn about Azure DevOps, for example, now, and Jira board and all that, is your board just to see what everybody's doing. Like I said earlier, that the words we use in Scrum is as simple as transparency. We want to see what is going on. We want to see what everybody is doing. And how can we see that? Where we put them, which is our board and all that. So we can see it moving. So if I key in something now that I say I'm working on so, even if I go off the system and somebody else comes, right, they can see that, oh, Wumi is working on this. Oh, okay. She has moved it to this. Oh, she has this impediment. You can see everything clearly on the board. They can see what, aside even Wumi now, as a team, they can see what Wumi is doing as a team. In her team, for example, I have a team of 10, for example, and the 10 of us on the board, you can see what we have there. You can see what we are doing. And as a team, you can see our dashboard to say, oh, this is what we've done as a team this sprint. This is what is remaining. This is the work left undone. I won't bring in burn down, burn chart and everything. I say burn chart, burn down, burn up, and all those kind of velocities in right now. But this is just trying to tell you that our board, for example, where we work, our tool is a clear definition of what transparency is all about. Now on this, for inspection is just like, for example, like our daily stand-up. I don't want to talk too much about this now because I don't want you to get mixed up when you don't even know what the ceremonies are, right? But I know some people have an idea of what it is. So for example, your daily stand-up or even your review, we are just using it to inspect ourselves. Oh, what have we done? You set out to do this. What have you done? Oh, okay, just reporting and all that. It's everything to do with inspection. And then when you probably finish the whole sprint, when you sit down to retrospect, it's also a form of inspection. Same as adaptability. Your retro too is an example of adaptability. So we've done everything. Your review, for example, stakeholders tell you that, oh, we don't want this, change this, do that, you can go back and do that. That's adapting to changes. So in Scrum, there's something we say about you fail fast and then pick yourself up. I know I'm talking too fast. I'm so sorry, but I hope you're trying to pick one or two of these. We will delve into the main agenda for the day in another like 1 minute. I don't want us to be too drowned in this. I just want us to have a background knowledge of what, the entirety of what Scrum is about. So now, yeah, perfect. So what are Scrum ceremonies? So, I've mentioned before that, these ceremonies, they are specifically organized to ensure that the Scrum team were in sync. When we say somebody is on sync, what are we saying? We're on the same page. So in executing, a development of a product, we are all in sync. We know what we're doing. We're in sync. That's why I needed to give you that background, which I've explained earlier. For example, with your board, we are working together as a team. We're working together to achieve something. So that's what ceremonies are about when we talk of Scrum ceremonies. So it's just like an organized event for us to continually do things, continually work together as a team. That's the whole idea, right? So Scrum events, ceremonies helps the Scrum team to get work done in a structured manner. Please underline the word structure, emphasis on structured, in a structured manner. And it helps us set expectations, empowers the team to collaborate effectively, and ultimately drive results, which is really the focus of anything. You can imagine me walking from here to Jalingo, and I did not achieve what I want to achieve. Whereas somebody just sat at home and they brought what the person needs to do. The person has achieved what they need to achieve. We have moved on. So it's not about effort here alone. It's about getting the work done. Results. We want to see results. We want to see results. Nobody awards effort. We only reward success and results, right? So that's what these Scrum ceremonies are about. Also, Scrum ceremonies are done within the context of a sprint. Sorry, please excuse me for the background noise. So when we say sprint is the same as iteration. I've mentioned that earlier. Sprint is the same as iteration. So when we say Scrum ceremonies are done within the context of a sprint, we are saying they are done based on, say, for example, I gave an example of 1 to 4 weeks, which is usually the way, every organization does it, right? So some organizations go for 4 weeks, depending on the volume of work they need to do. But for me, I'm not a fan of 4 weeks anyways. Then some organizations use 1 week. Some, on an average, like if I want to put a percentage to it, like 90% we use 2 weeks, right? But for example, for me currently now, I do a 3-week sprint. So it depends on what the value of work and everything that the organization needs to achieve. That's what determines. And please also note that the people that determine this number of weeks for us to do in a sprint is the team themselves. So the team sits back at the start of the project. How long do we think we can do this? Blah, 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 blah. And we have an agreement to it. And please don't get me wrong. Some organization too also does this, but the team must agree to it, right? So an organization might just come up with, oh, let's do a 2-week sprint and everything. The team will sit down and say, okay, yeah, 2-week sprint is fine. They will evaluate what they do within the sprint and what is given to them to do as per business priorities and goals. So they decide and agree to that this is what they do. Now, what is the purpose of Scrum ceremonies? This is one of the things I want us to also capture. Some of the reasons that this ceremonies are important is because it empowers the team to collaborate effectively. I've mentioned that and I won't try to overflog that. And I'm also watchful of my time, right? So it helps us collaborate effectively as a team. Scrum ceremonies, it also helps us set and measure expectations. So somebody has come that this is a business priority you need to carry out. That this is a business priority you need to carry out. And then you sit down and say, okay, this is what we've done. We can measure that we've done this part of the priority. We've done this level of work. We've done this, we've achieved this. All those things are what we are saying. We can measure it. We can use our metrics to measure and say this is the work done, and all that. Then provides the team with a framework to carry out assigned tasks as well as in a well-structured manner. Sorry about the background noise. Provides the team with expectation. Sorry, please give me a minute. Okay, so provides the team with a framework to carry out assigned tasks as well as in a well-structured manner. Lastly, it steers the team towards achieving successful results. So you can imagine having all this plan, doing everything you need to do. You put them on the board, you're working as a team, you have a clear understanding of what you need to carry out during the course of the sprint. Definitely you're looking at, achieving success in the results that you're doing. So that's, some of the very, very importance of Scrum ceremonies. So what are the Scrum ceremonies? Basically, we have 5. Officially, we say it's 4, right? But in fact, I think I'm done saying officially we say it's 4, because the 5th one that is probably not outrightly recognized, which is, the refinement, is, for me, is one of the most important ceremonies. So we have 5 ceremonies. Let's just leave it that way right now. So we have our sprint planning, we have daily stand-up, we have sprint refinement, sprint review, and retrospective. So for sprint planning, the participants are the PO, the Scrum Masters are developers. Those are the entire Scrum team. Please, if you want to know what a Scrum team are, they are basically 3 in number: the PO, the Scrum Master, and the developers. Now, please be watchful of what developers mean. If you remember earlier, I said some of the things were changed in Scrum Guide, because before they used to call it development team. And when we mean a team, of course, it's more than one type of thing, right? That we're calling a team, right? So, for me, it includes the QA, the BS, everybody working on that thing, developing something, people that are hands-on on it. That's what developers is. So please don't get confused when you see just the word developer. We're not saying, oh, it's just developers that are doing it. We mean the whole Scrum team is doing it, right? So the duration usually for sprint planning is 2 to 4 hours, right? Depending on your sprints. Now, say for example, somebody that is holding a 4-week sprint, they'll be doing a 4-hour sprint planning. But on an average, which is the regular 2-week sprint, they do a 2 hours, planning. Then for daily stand-up, we have PO, Scrum Masters and developers, which is also the full regalia again, the full Scrum team for our daily stand-up. And daily stand-up is done 15 minutes every day of sprint. So every working day of sprint, 15 minutes. Don't worry, we'll go into details very soon. For the sprint planning, still the full team, and the duration is usually within 2 hours in a 2-week sprint, same as sprint review. Sprint review is also 2 hours within a 2-week sprint. So we have the PO, the Scrum Master, developers, and please pardon me, my French, the stakeholders too, right? And lastly, the retrospective is for the full team. So the only ceremony that the stakeholders sit in fully, for example, they are the ones that need it the most, is the sprint review, because you are now showcasing what you have done during the course of the sprint. So we'll go into details of this now. So for me, I always believe that a Scrum ceremony, I said something about over familiarity. Please don't be too over familiar with your ceremonies, right? If you do that, you're going to lose the essence of it. Always plan before every ceremony, as little as daily Scrum. In your head, you just be like, oh yeah, I'll just wake up and open my system, I will start daily Scrum. No, as a Scrum Master, for example, you need to always plan yourself before your daily Scrum. Even the developers, you need to plan, okay, these are the things I have done, the previous day. Okay, this is what I'm working with. Okay, let me align myself so that when it's time for the stand up, I can say exactly and specifically what I have been doing. So it's always good to plan yourself. But for this case especially, please don't joke with it, Scrum Masters. We joke with it a lot and just, jump into it and just, turn on your system and you start stand up. No, sit down, go back to the board, check out what everybody has done so far. In fact, the board should be your Bible, should be your baby, right? So always go through it, ensure you understand what is going on the board. When somebody moves something, you should be able to know. There are lots of parameters within the board that you can use to know that, oh, somebody has done something on this board. So for you, you can find a way to find your own logic. Nobody will teach you your own logic, but find your own logic to know when something is moving on your board and everything. Make sure you always capture the moment. Don't play with your jotting notes and everything as a Scrum Master. Now, for every meeting, ensure it's purpose-driven. And when I mean purpose-driven, you are trying to achieve something, right? Don't enter a meeting because you just want to do a meeting. Because you know a sprint plan, yeah, let's go and do sprint planning. No, a sprint plan, you should already know that, okay, what's the business priority? Yeah, okay, the during the refinement, the PO has said this is the priority, this is this, so this is what we want to achieve. Probably this particular, sprint planning, for example, we want to do this. Oh, during this refinement, we want to get a breakdown of the high level deliverable of what this is about, all those kind of things. Make sure everything you're doing is purpose driven. Then have acceptance from your team. Now let me explain to you. Usually you meet this a lot. Even now that you're in this internship, you meet this a lot. Some people will just not come to meeting. Either they don't find the relevance, or they don't have time, or they'll keep telling you meeting clash, meeting clash, meeting clash. So, but if, for example, two things are clashing, except if it involves the CEO, for example. But if two things are clashing, it's not the one you feel that is more relevant to you, go and join, right? So put your team in a position where they see that these meetings are relevant, these meetings are important. Put your team in that position to ensure that they feel relevant. I've mentioned this already, for us to always prepare for our meeting. Please prepare for our meetings. And then lastly, make sure it's valuable. You have something concrete that you have done. This is something tangible that came out of this meeting. That's the meaning of valuable. Always make sure all your ceremonies are valuable. So let's quickly go through all the ceremonies as fast as we can. So for sprint planning is the first event of the sprint. It's the first thing you ever do when it comes to any ceremony. But please also be mindful. It's because of you're just starting. So that's why it's really the first ceremony. But once you have kicked off, for me, now this is not a general acceptable theory, but just for me, I always believe refinement is the first part of it, because we do our refinement ahead of this sprint planning. The reason we're doing refinement is to make sure that we don't come to sprint planning to start, planning the thing. You're trying to make sure your stories are ready. You're trying to make sure you've taken in the right things you're supposed to take in. You are prepared for something. So that's your preparatory class, refinement. So like I said, please just try and pick some of these things I'm saying, like, the importance of them. So refinement is like you preparing for something. So if I'm preparing for something, it's not mainly supposed to be my first ceremony, but it's just that when you start a project, definitely it's not like you are going to be starting with refinement. Maybe there are other words they call it, probably a kind of planning. But if you delve into the ceremony itself, then you now start sprint planning, blah blah blah. But officially, right? So officially, this is the first event of the sprint. So sprint planning is an event in Scrum framework where the team determines the product backlog items that they'll be working on during the course of the sprint and discuss the initial plan for completing those product backlog items. Now, get it right. Now, I think I should just explain what an artifact is, right? Those are the tools, the things you'll be working with, and every role has their own artifact. So, but the artifact that concerns Scrum ceremonies now, I'll just pick three main artifacts, which is the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. Please try and get this. I know I'm repeating myself, but please, there are reasons why we tend to repeat ourselves for things like this. So for sprint planning, for example, we have product backlog, sprint, product backlog item, right? We have a sprint backlog, sorry, and then we have our increment. So for the product backlog, right, just have it in a very simple way, like they're all the things, all the relevant things we think we want to do on that particular story, like on that particular project, on that particular work, everything we're thinking of doing. Is the best way I try to make people understand it. So everything you think you want to do on something is what will be on your product backlog. Now, your sprint backlog is when you people have probably done the refinement, you've put it in, the BA done, and then it has been approved by the PO. The things now that we want to work and commit into sprints, that's why there's sprint in front of it. It's called the sprint backlog. The things that we'll be working on in that sprint, the backlog for the sprint, that's sprint backlog. Then increment, like I explained earlier, is that thing, that project value you get at the end of the day, right? The increment you get on that product. So for example, I'm trying to build a house, and I start with the foundation. Then I take it to, is it length level? We have, what do they call that thing? Then before you do the roofing and all that, right? So you don't do everything at once. In Scrum, we do these things incrementally. So doing only the foundation, for example, if it's only foundation we want to do in sprint one, we have finished foundation, we're done, and we have taken it as an accepted thing. That's our definition of done for sprint one, because we have agreed that that's what we want to do, right? And we are finished doing the flooring and everything. That's the foundation rather, and that is done, right? We're good. So we take the next step, which is just putting the house up, so that's increment, right? So like I said, let me just repeat myself. Product backlog, all the things we think we want to do, right? Sprint backlog, the things we are working on within the sprint. So in this case, for example, now for that house I explained, now maybe for the product backlog now, we'll probably have on a higher level anyways, it won't be on a small level. On a higher level, we have the foundation, we have raising it up, then we have the roof, then we have the painting and all that. All those things can be in the product backlog. And then for the sprint, maybe we now decide to pick only foundation and probably raising it up halfway, for example. So those are the things we're going to take into sprint. Remember that even foundation and raising it up is also in that product backlog, but that's why we went to pick the thing to put into sprint to start working on it. Please create this mental picture as I'm talking as fast as I can. Now, the importance of sprint planning, it reduces risk of failure. Like I said, if you fail to plan, you definitely are planning to fail. So, if you plan very well, your success rate will be higher. Understanding and defining the scope and of delivery. So the things we want to work on. And usually for this, the person that gives us that scope of delivery is the PO. The PO is like a visionary. It's the person that comes and says, okay, this is the heart of the stakeholders, or this is what you people should work on. And then we as the team will tell the PO that, okay, yes, we have the technical skills to do this. Okay, hit us, then you give us what we need to work on and work around it. There are sometimes that is not everything we really know how to do, but because we're professionals, we might just need to make a little bit of research to know how to do the thing perfectly well, and then we'll be able to do it. But if it's something completely out of scope, then we can revert and say this is out of scope. There's nothing we can do about it for now, right? So if they need to go and get experts for that one and everything, we all agree, as a team. But that PO will go and give the feedback that the team is unable to do this. But professionally, we try not to get there, at that time. So we also have, I'm jumping into the next ceremony, right? In the sprint planning, actually, there are a lot of things we actually need to know within sprint planning that, I just don't want us to forget. So when you want to start, a sprint, there are several activities you want to make sure that you have done. Say, for example, when you're starting a sprint, activities like your velocity, make sure you already have it as a team. Make sure your velocity is there. Make sure your team has the definition of done, definition of ready. They have their user story, they have their acceptance criteria, you've done your capacity within your team. Make sure that your PPIs are in place. Make sure that you're able to take actionable plan into the sprint, right? All those kind of things. Make sure those things are done in your sprint planning. And some of them are even done already in the refinement. We'll get to refinement, so some of the things we're supposed to do in refinement. And most especially in sprint planning, you need to estimate before you now commit it into sprint. But you see, all this talk I'm saying, if I say I should sit down, I'll be explaining all these things. We'll only grow old and not grab it, but we'll show you in the next couple of minutes. We'll show you what all these things mean. I wish I was with my phone to check the time. Stop checking the time now. Okay. So let's just go to daily stand-up. So for our daily stand-up is a time box meeting for 15 minutes. It's done usually at the same place at the same time, right? But you see, because of this virtual world now, we'll not use the word the same place, but the same link usually, right? So we'll still call it the same place, right? And it's usually done at the same time. And when we say the same time, please don't get it wrong. Time can also vary. But before you even agree on the time in the first place, you have to be considerate of your team. So the team sits down and agree on their ways of working. And one of the things they're going to be agreeing on is, okay, what time do we hold our meeting? Now, please grab this because you are going to do this particular activity. For example, you will sit down as a team. Remember that some people in your team might be from Germany. Some people might be here in the UK. Some people might be in Nigeria. Some people might be in America. You have to be considerate of the time you're going to be having the meeting. So you sit down and agree. So you can imagine, for example, my current colleagues, if I have them in India, and they are 8 hours ahead. And please also note that even within India, some people are maybe 5 or 6 hours ahead, while some people are 11 or 8 hours or something ahead. So you need to be considerate of all this before you determine the time you want to do the meeting because of the virtual world we are in, right? So before COVID, that probably we all usually work in the same place and everything. So definitely we're okay when we get to the office by 9:15 or 10 o'clock. Usually, I usually tell people, say your resumption is 9, don't have your stand up at 9. because you're just coming into work, you want to look at your important mails, you want to settle down, you want to take a breather, remembering that sometimes we can even come in 2 minutes late or something. So you want to take a breather and all that. So for that kind of meeting, you can say, okay, 9:30, right? But now that we're in the virtual world, right, it can be 10 o'clock, it can anytime that is convenient for the team. So let me not overflog that. Scrum ceremonies, all the ceremonies, not only daily stand-up, is always facilitated by, the Scrum Masters. And the focus is usually on these three questions. What did I do yesterday? What did I do today? And if there's any impediments. Now, please note, for me, I always say it too, that for me, some things are still right. I will not ask my current team. I will not ask them that, what did you do yesterday? What did you do today? I'm not talking to children anymore, right? So I will just go and say, please, can you give us a quick update? And sometimes it might just be that we just need a high level update. You can imagine if everybody spoke yesterday and gave us full detail, about what they did just yesterday. And I've looked at the board, okay, just a little movement here and here. I know the status of everything. We all know the status of everything because we can see what is on the board. And today, wanted to repeat the process. It can be very boring. So sometimes I just chip in and say, oh, let's go. Let's give a high level update, or does anybody have any updates? And so they just go straight to the point and give you what the high level update is. But these are the principles guiding it. Please note them. What did the person do the previous day? What are they attempting to do today, right? And if there's any blockers or any impediments they have. So that's what Scrum, daily Scrum is about, right? So and I think onus is on me to also tell you that the reason they call it stand up is because of the literal name. The literal name is that prior COVID, when you get to the meeting, when you want to have this meeting, you do it standing because it's for 15 minutes. By the time you see that, people will be relaxed and forget themselves and keep talking to you like kingdom come, right? But if you say something is time boxed for 15 minutes, right, they will quickly, just give a short update. You won't stand and now waste the whole team's time and be talking for 10 minutes. And anyways, if that happens, Scrum Masters, don't worry, we'll teach you a bit of how to just choose people in a very professional way, right? So there's also a joke that goes around that just use big English to stop people from exceeding the time. So those are the things that go on within the daily stand-up. So it's a very brief daily meeting designed to let the team plan the work for the day. It's also a quick exchange of vital information. That's how I was saying. I just asked for a quick update. And if anybody has anything they want to tell us. And then if, something is very important that the person really wants to say all those details, then we'll put it in the parking lot. Parking lot is more like saying, okay, after the daily stand-up, when everybody has left, the people that still have something to talk about, that wants to spend 5 hours talking about it, then you create a separate time for them. And for me, I always advise that just immediately after the stand-up, put it an extra 30-minute slot and probably name it daily impediment or blockers or anything, right? So when people from the stand-up have anything to discuss, they can use that 30 minutes time to work on them. They also identify obstacles that could impact work. So somebody comes in and says, oh, we're not able to download this, or I have a blocker, I have this, I have that. It's in the daily stand-up that you quickly know. Then sometimes you also put your team in a position that they don't need to have that waiting syndrome of saying we have to wait till stand up to be able to say this. If I am working with you right now, right here, now, and I have an important issue affecting me, all I need to do is just speak up. I don't need to wait. If I'm working 10 a.m., I have an issue, I'll just bring it up immediately. Tell the right people. Either you tell your Scrum Master to help you work on the impediments and everything. You don't need to wait for the next, daily stand-up to do that. Please make sure you put your team in that vibe. Then the attendees are the Scrum team. I mentioned it earlier. The importance of daily stand-up, that it helps us inspect teams' progress, improves transparency, improves collaboration. It helps us share progress of what we are doing, and also peer-to-peer accountability. So if I've opened my mouth in front of my whole peer that I want to achieve this and this today, there's that little shame that is there, that when you come tomorrow and they say, oh, yeah, you said you wanted to achieve this, what's up? And then you're like, oh, I didn't achieve it. No, now, it just puts you in that edge to want to try to, that's why sometimes it's good to do this stand-up. Don't let anybody avoid any meeting if it's something that is avoidable, right? Sometimes, people really, really have something important and they can't attend the meeting. Put your team in that position that where they will always want to attend, but even if they are not able to attend, they would have told the team on time that, oh, sorry, I'll not be able to attend because of this particular meeting. And usually those meetings, you will know about those meetings also. So you know that that's true. This person is needed for that. So always try and work. Then self-organization. Self-organization is one of the very most important things in Scrum. If you have a Scrum team and they're not self-organized, then you're in trouble, right? When I mean they're not self-organized, it doesn't happen in one day. you work towards being self-organized as a team. It's something you work towards being. You come together as a team and work towards being self-organized. So self-organization is something you practice. I won't call the word practice now. You ensure your team are in that position to be able to self-organize themselves. So you just put them to self-organize. You let them know, plan their work. Self-organization is more like saying people can plan their work. People are professionals, so they should be able to plan themselves, plan what they are doing, and as a team. So in the absence of anybody, we will not die. You understand? So if, for example, I have Emmanuel. It was Emmanuel that spoke that time. Yeah, I have Emmanuel in my team, and then Emmanuel goes on vacation. But because it's the alpha and omega of everything, we are not self-organized. We are not self-organized. We are not even cross-functional. Then we're in trouble when Emmanuel is not around. No, put your team in the position that when anybody is not around, the team will still move forward. Everybody knows what each other is doing. Yeah, you might not have expert knowledge on it because that's not probably your entire focus, but at least a little knowledge so that we can move the team forward in the absence of anybody. There can be emergencies tomorrow. If it's not even always only holidays, there can be emergencies. Somebody can fall ill tomorrow and you have no idea what the team is doing. What the person is doing. That means your team, you're not even organized. So find a way to ensure you're organized as a team and cooperate with your team. Is that for other roles? Ensure you cooperate with your team members to ensure everyone is organized. So for sprint review, sorry, let me look at my time. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes. For sprint review, sprint review is a meeting that is organized at the end of the sprint, and it's just to collect constructive comments and feedbacks from stakeholders about what the team has accomplished. So we said we wanted to do the foundation. Have we done the foundation? Oh, this is what we have done. Then they look at it and say, no, that corner, we don't like that corner. That's the part I spoke about, adaptation. Note it down. You don't need to feel bad. That's why we say we fail fast. Yeah, we did that corner. We just did it like we thought, okay, it was going to be fanciful, but they don't like it. The stakeholders don't want it. Oh, no problem. We'll make the adjustments. Now, that's one of the reasons why Scrum is very good. You can imagine if we had used waterfall to do this method. In waterfall, you'd have finished doing everything before you start showing stakeholders, right? But in agile, as little as that foundation, we'll make the correction immediately, then progress. But for waterfall, you can imagine you've done foundation, you've raised it up, you've done roof. They now say, break this side, break this corner. Where do you want to start from? It is going to waste your time. It's going to waste your money, a lot of things. But that's one beautiful thing. Please don't, me saying this doesn't mean we're saying waterfall is bad, but sometimes there's some projects that are actually very good with waterfall and traditional methods and all those kind of things. But for Scrum is very, very beautiful in making sure we fail fast, we adapt quickly, we move on, we make corrections as we go. Or you are doing a website for a customer, you do a blue background like I have now, the customer is looking at that, I don't like this blue, we want purple. Purple is what we, and you change it immediately. Unlike when you have built everything on it, done everything on it, just anything, right? So just make sure that this review, your whole team, they are there to be able to showcase what you have done. So putting your best foot forward too in front of the stakeholders, show them everything you've done, then they'll give you a feedback. So that's why they put is constructive feedback, constructive comments and all. Then review also provides a place where the Scrum team presents the work they have completed. I think I've mentioned that already. So sprint review, what some of the importance, you can see this picture already. So this is the team holding the increment they've done. You can see the stakeholders buffing up with the tea and all that. All these things usually happen, right? Don't worry, we'll get to that position very soon. I know some of us are already doing things like this, but you'll see how all these things work. We're already in it anyways, so we'll see how it works. So importance of sprint review, that it provides a routine status update, helps ensure the right products that fit the user needs are created, so like I said, the user wanted that type of foundation and suddenly they realize that they don't want it. So, doing that review and getting that constructive feedback will make us correct the thing and user will like it all together. By the time it's getting to the finishing, the user is already in love with the house because the user was in that journey with you in creating that. So it also helps to inspect the outcome of the sprint. I won't overemphasize that, that's straight on English, right? Then retrospective. Now, retrospective for me is one of the fun, how will I put it? So you can imagine, we've done sprint planning, we've done refinement, we've done everything, then we now sit down and say, okay, let's take a breather. Let's have fun. let's play. And inside the play now, let's still talk about the important things that went on within the sprint. Who has gotten the definition of what retrospective is about in that form? So we come together in a chilled environment. There's nobody hovering over us. When we mean there's nobody, this is just the team as usual. There's no stakeholder telling us, oh, you didn't do this right or you didn't do this one well. It's just we the team. We sit down, we retrospect. Oh, what didn't go right? Oh, when I was trying to get information from Emmanuel, he wasn't forthcoming. He wasn't even communicating. There was no collaboration. We'll put all that there. Now, those words are not to chastise Emmanuel. It's just to talk to us as a team that, oh, we need to communicate more. We need to speak better. We need to collaborate more as a team. Oh, probably I think we all need a training to improve on this, that, this, all those kind of things. Those are what we sit down to discuss in the retrospective. What didn't really go well, or what went well, and then the things we want to take into action for the next sprint. So it's just like us inspecting ourselves. We are saying all the things we did during the course of the sprint. Let's learn from it. It's like a learning platform. That's what retrospective is about. So a retrospective is the meeting that is held at the end of the sprint. Yes, also note that is the last event. Retrospective is the last event of the sprint, where the team reflects on the past sprint and identifies ways to improve their processes and practices. We need to run. The ceremony also helps us find and figure out ways to improve the team and ways to make things better. Then it usually starts with an icebreaker. Like I said, we play a game and all that, and then it's usually done for 1 or 2 hours, depending on what the team agrees on. If you want to just do it for 1 hour, go straight to the point, bam, done. But if not, it can be 2 hours, enjoy yourself. You can use the first hour to do both your icebreaker, your games, and all. Then you now come for serious business. Please don't take retrospective with levity, because it's more of like your pain point, your learning point too. You're pain that, oh, this thing did not go right last sprint. Okay, how can we make it better? And when you pick things in retrospective, make sure they are followed through into the next sprint. So we have said that we did not do well in this last sprint because of this. Make sure you take it as a feedback and make sure somebody is in charge of it to be able to, go ahead and say, oh, this is done and everything. So we'll show you how these things are done in the next hour now. We're almost done with this. So importance of retrospective, the team inspect their activities, they develop a plan for the next sprint, and it's an opportunity to evaluate the work that the team has effectively done, right? And then what went well, what didn't go well, then increase quality and effectiveness of work. So you have learned from something. So definitely, if I've learned from this sprint, I should be doing better in the next sprint, right? Please don't get me wrong, there could still be hiccups in the next sprint and all that, but we're trying to get better. We're trying to do better. We're inspecting ourselves. We're saying, oh, this. We're trying our best to move forward. That also allows the team to freely share their opinion. Like I said, remember I said at the beginning, nobody's hovering against us, nobody's watching us. We're just talking, is we. Now, even in retrospective, if you want to be anonymous, say you want to share something that really, really went wrong, and you want to be anonymous, retrospective allows you to be anonymous. Anything you want, right? Well, it's always good to put for me, in my own perspective, it's always good to put your team in the level that we can share it. We can face each other and say, oh, this did not happen and everything. Okay, let's try. So when you're talking to your team, find a way to talk to them constructively, in a friendly manner, yet passing the message. Don't go and be feisty with anybody. That's some of our Scrum values. Scrum values, you need to respect each other. You need to be able to, value other people's opinion. All these things always play hand in hand, right? It's just because going into details will just make us debate too much. That's why we're just trying to go straight to the point. Now, some examples of retro, because a lot of people, some of the things that happens in some teams that you lose your team members is because you don't do fun things for them, you don't carry them along, you don't make them even excited. Oh, retro is coming, okay, at least we can chill, that kind of thing. Retro, you cannot even go on team bonding outside, everything. Like my team, we go out every month, just once a month, just to chill, calm down, and then it's not even I don't think we've ever gone for drinking marathon. Usually it can either be a place to play game, it can be a place to just chill and gist and talk and everything, anything to. And by the time you go out and gist with your colleagues, if you try it once, right, you'll see that by the time you're coming in the next Monday, because by the time you go out to chill with people, you'd have expressed yourself with them, they know you better, there's that more smiley, cheery. By the time you come into work the next day, there's that friendly atmosphere. So it's always good to do fun games. So because of things that are virtual, so it doesn't really matter. So these are some of the exercises we do during, you can just, for an icebreaker, for example, you can say, oh, if I had a superpower, okay, let me ask somebody will answer this one, just one person. If you had a superpower, or if you are a superhero, in relations to the one day you have spent in blue sky, you can imagine all what you went through, like, oh, I wasn't able to download this one, oh, I've not gotten this one, oh, all the chaos I spoke about. What will you do and why? For me, if I'm going to speak, it to be that probably, I've said this before, I guess, I'll pick probably Charles in this thing, and the reason is because of his brain, right? I'll just absorb everything. So I already know everything before I start this internship. So since my brain is already functional, there's no need to stress myself too much. That's the kind of superpower I'm going to pick. I would have picked Hulk, but Hulk will just scatter everywhere. So let me just chill. Who wants to speak on this? Anybody, just unmute and speak. If you had a superpower, what will you do? Anybody? Anybody? Are you kidding me? Nobody can tell us their superpower.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. What's
If
your
I
name?
have, my name is Olushola. If I have a superpower and I'm a superhero, then I'll just chill and relax and think forward and think ahead for the next program. Thank you.
So, but which superhero does that? I wanted you to mention maybe Spider-Man, or I didn't want to lead you guys on by oversaying it. Anyone that suits what you just said.
Um, let
Good
me
evening.
say, okay, let me say Superman.
Okay. Okay. That's nice. It's okay. Somebody wanted to say something too. Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Ify. If I had a superpower, to be honest, I think I would have radiating eyes or
Try.
X-ray eyes.
You Kyle XY or which one?
And I will probably break into a vault somewhere.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so usually this is how the board for retrospective are. There are different styles. So the one up here is one style. That is what went well, what could have been improved. What could have been improved is simply saying what didn't go well, then your action plan, then continue doing, stop doing, start doing anything you want. This one makes us happy, this one makes us sad, like that. So these are examples of retrospective. I put more examples. This one is hot air balloon. I just went all the way to crop very regular examples for us. Like for this hot air balloon now, the sunshine is very clear, all the bright ideas, anybody that has bright ideas, what is holding us down, then thunderstorm, all the obstacles we've had, any questions afterward, what is pulling up down is back, sandbag, and all that. Please give me a second. Okay, so what is pulling us back and all that, that's another sample. This is Rosebud, for example. Rosebud is just saying, okay, what are our wins, what don't we like, what are the buds? Buds are tons now, and tons, they are, the tons are the bad experiences we went through. The buds are like new ideas. Buds, they want to spring, that's a bud. They want to spring. Then tons are the ones that in the best words, right? Then roses, all our wins, our successes, you put it there, and when you're done, you put all the ones we want to take into action. I actually did one that has a little bit of content so that we can put content to this. This one is also, as funny as this one is, let me give an example of this one. This one is for football, right? And all we need to do is the things that made us happy, the things that made us sad, then recognizing our colleagues and action plan, But you can imagine if, what is sad? Sad is Liverpool. And imagine if you're a Liverpool fan, and then you bring this to your team, and then, somebody brings this to your team, for example, and you're a Liverpool, won't you fight that? In fact, it took us 10 minutes to decide which one to put in which column. We fought and fought and fought. It became an icebreaker for the day. So anything just to excite your colleagues. You don't need to use the same thing every time. So just swap from time to time. Give them fun time. It's retrospective. Come on. Then I did an example of using the hot air balloon. So for sunshine, our bright ideas, we need to go on team outing, yada, 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 recognition. I recognized Moji for teaching us Azure DevOps, and don't worry, she'll teach Azure DevOps. I'm just telling you in advance, right? So I recognize that for teaching us Azure and all that. Then for retrospective, sorry, I said retrospective, for rising here, those are the things that are pushing us along. We are collaborating as a team, we're communicating as a team. That was fantastic during the course of the sprint, yada, yada, yada. Then thunderstorm, we're getting information late. Some people handling impediment is war for the Scrum Master. I've not been handling impediment well, blah, 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 blah. So that's me that I put this here. Now, for some of our sandbagging, things that are pulling us down, waiting syndrome. Some people will wait till the sprint ends before they share what is happening to them. So Scrum Masters, for example, make sure you don't put your team in that position. Always took head there to make sure that they are not waiting. We have 2 more minutes to finish this session. And then any questions, say for example, oh, when are we having our BRP? That's when are we having our PI planning? BRP is big room planning, right? Or same as PI. Oh, when are we doing this? Oh, when are we having the next, blah, blah, blah. Then we agreed as a team within this. These are the actions we are taking into next sprint. Oh, we need to have a training on Agile. That's we've lost, touch. Okay, let's have a session on Agile. Then we agreed also to go on a team bonding session at the end of the sprint. So we'll have a day of outing. Then we need to improve information dissemination. And then by the time we finish, we'll now hand this over to who is my team members. Now, see, not to deviate from this, for example, we'll now hand this over to Tunji. So Tunji will be the one to probably be in charge of disseminating information. We can also say, oh, Annie, you'll be the one to organize this team bonding session for us. Then we also agree that, okay, Olawumi, who is the Scrum Master, oh yeah, do training for us on Agile. Do you understand? Or if it's things that are similar, you can simply say, okay, you know what, Tunji handle everything, right? So it depends. Then sometimes when the team are filling up this board, they might feel similar things. So if somebody is saying collaboration and probably, oh, thank God, this is team collaboration and collaboration, and ask them what they mean, and both of them say, okay, it's something that is, us trying to work together as a team, blah, blah, blah. All you need to do is just get an arrow on this whiteboard. This is a whiteboard, by the way, and just link these two. So we know that we've grouped these two. We'll also show you how to group on the board and all. So we'll group these two. So all those kind of things, you learn it on the go. Don't worry, we'll teach you. Just take time, calm down. Like I said, you can't get everything this night. Just receive as much as you can. Then some of the tools that we use for retrospective, we have Miro, Mural, we have Lucid Chat, Azure DevOps, Metimeter, different things. We have Easy Retro, different ones, right? These are just a few. Then for refinement, I've already explained refinement kind of, refinement is like, the team looks at the product backlog, which is that first, the first artifact I spoke about, where we put everything we want to do there. You are seeing why we're calling it everything we want to do. So they look at the product backlog and then they decide on the one they want to decomposition. So, you decide whether further decomposition is required on or it can be included in the next sprint. Now, it's not like it's the team that will actually pick this. It's the PO that is going to, PO is part of the team. So the PO will be the one to pick that, okay, oh, I've gotten I've gotten information on the requirements and our business priorities for the following sprint, right? So these and these and these and these are what we work on. So the team will pick it. For example, the BAs, they'll move it to in BA and then start working on it. Don't worry, you understand the board as time goes on, right? So the process continues until the team finds a good collection of user story from the product backlog now that will now be included in the sprint backlog. Sprint backlog. Remember what I said. I would have probably used it as a question to say somebody should respond, but because of time. So sprint backlog, all the things that we want to do in that sprint. So can you see the linkage now? So the user stories in the product backlog to be included in the sprint backlog. So we are taking things from the product backlog and taking it into the sprint backlog. Then the PO prioritizes the story. I mentioned that already. And then the team estimates the story. I mentioned that too earlier about estimation, and then the severity, like, how important this is and everything, how, severe that's like a prioritization for these stories and everything, then clear acceptance criteria, DOR, DOD, and all that to do it during refinement. Remember, I mentioned all this during sprint planning. In sprint planning, you might just check that these things are there, right? But it's better to do most of it during refinement, because if you have them during refinement, if your stories are too big, for example, you can slice them, different things. But honestly, if I give you all the information at once, it might not be helpful. So I'm just speaking as much as I can to give you, then you understand as we go on. So as I'm rounding off, please, my team members, please log into the board. Importance of refinement. So refinement is to keep the backlog up to date and that the PBIs are prepared for the next sprint. So ensures PBI, anywhere you see PBI, I mean product backlog item, for the next sprint are prepared and prioritized. So I've mentioned that already. Elimination of product backlog chaos and all that, and then keeps the team updated on the status of the PBI. So all these things, they have to be followed by invest criteria. So for you to have a good story, they have to be independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. So that's what they have to do in invest criteria. They have to, I can't go into details of this right now, but invest criteria, you can look it up, is all your stories have to meet invest criteria. And I'm sure that when you're going to be taking about writing stories and all, this will come up again. Then Scrum ceremonies at a glance. Remember I mentioned, so product owner, they get the things they want to do, all the vision and all that. Then we plan the meeting and then we put them in the backlog, for example. Then we do our iteration for a week. And then within that week that we're doing, or 2 weeks that we're doing our sprint, we're also doing our daily stand-up, which is done every hour. And then we also review with all our stakeholders and all that. And then we retrospect when we are done, right? Finished, right? So this is a finished work. This is just to show you Scrum at a glance. Then this is also a question I'd like to pose to everyone. You can have it as a response. When do we get this response? I'd have loved to ask someone now, but would have had it as a response. That's, what is your best ceremony out of all the ceremonies? But no problem. Just digest this. This question will be asked from you in further. So thank you very much. Any questions, please? Any questions? Oh, shit. Any questions, please?
Sorry, where do we get the slides?
You'll get the video afterwards. I'm not going to share the slides with you, but we'll get the video afterwards.
Okay.
Yep. Who else? Quickly.
All right, good evening. I just
evening.
want to find out from the narratives you've given.
Yeah.
So does that imply that in every organization we have more than one Scrum Master?
What made you feel we have more than one Scrum Master?
Because from all you are saying, it's not an individual, it's a teamwork sort of,
Okay.
and it involves like a group of people.
Okay. So
that's why it's just ringing into my head that for every organization, we have more than one, or maybe you put me,
okay, so let me explain
a clearer perspective. Thank you.
So let me explain to you. Thank you for mentioning that. And I'm very, very happy you mentioned that so that people don't get the wrong information. So now in a Scrum team, we have a Scrum Master, we have a PO, they are individuals, one Scrum Master, one PO, and then we have the team, right? Which is developers, right? So in a software world, right, is usually like within this team now, we have the BAs, we have the QAs, quality testers, we have POs. It now depends on what you're doing. I said POs, DAs, depending on what you're doing in your team. So we have designers, we have developers, different things. In fact, some teams we have front-end developer, back-end developer, but you remember that in an agile team, we don't have plus or minus 10 people, right? 7 to 10 people, in an agile team. So, but usually there's always only one Scrum Master, one PO, one analyst, and please don't get me wrong, there are some teams that if there's a BA, if there's a PO rather, there might not be there's always a PO, don't get me wrong, but there might not be a PA in some teams. If the work for the BA is not so much, or maybe what they are doing within the team is not so much, right? The PO can handle both being a PO and handle being a business analyst. So some teams don't even have business analysts, but some teams have business analysts. But if there's going to be a business analyst in a team, usually one, right? So one SM, one PO, one BA. Now, it's developers and testers that can now be more than one. Some teams have probably 2 testers and then maybe 3 developers, or depending, right? So those are the ones that can be in numbers. But when it comes to Scrum Master, PO, BA, one in a team, right?
All right, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll still get to this again. I wish with what you said now, I will put the roles in between, the next presentation we're going to be doing. But in all, I
right,
think you
thank
guys
you.
grabbed as much as you can. I've already chopped off 7 minutes from our showcase. So we're delving into the showcase now. So I'm still going to be sharing my screen. Can we see the screen? Okay.
Sorry, can I ask a question, please?
Please go ahead, please.
Where does the data analyst come in?
That's what I've said now. It depends on what you're doing in your team. So you can imagine a team that you want to probably do data migration projects. Say, for example, you want to move data from, one source to another. It's people like you we need. Do you understand? So data analysts are part of also the developers in the sense of they are hands-on doing the main job. So if Deji was here, you'd have made jest of we Scrum Masters and go. So you say Scrum Masters, we don't do any work because we're not part of the people that our hands is in the cookie jar. So, but because I'm a Scrum Master, I will never accept till thy kingdom come. I will never accept because we do a lot of work. You can imagine driving without a mirror, without anything. You can't now. You can't get to your destination. So we are the most important people, right? I'm just kidding. So I'll stop share. I'm sorry. I'll stop recording. Thank you. Who else has a question before I stop recording this session?
So, excuse me, can I ask a question, please?
Please go ahead.
What's the role of a Scrum Master?
So, that's, I don't, it is the Scrum Master, you see. Did you do your CB yesterday? That's why I'm trying to first understand. Did you submit your CB yesterday?
No, I haven't done it.
Okay. So
I'm a new
I wanted the new joiners to actually submit their CVs. So it's fine, right? So for Scrum Master, the best way to explain in simple terms that you understand, like we're the drivers of the team. No one we're the drivers. That's why they call us true leaders, right? In Scrum, there's no manager, there's no anything. We just work within ourselves, right? There's no seniority. The PO is not more than the developer. The developer is, we're all equal, right? There's no one managing us. That's why we're talking about self-organization. So the role of the Scrum Master in it is to ensure that things are going on within that team. Communication is going on within the team. We're facilitating all the ceremonies. We're ensuring that the team is collaborating well. We're removing impediments. We're steering the team around different things within. So the role of a Scrum Master is way more than that. Just making sure that team becomes very functional and are able to deliver increments at the end of each sprint. That's what you're doing as Scrum Master.
All right, can we simply say the Scrum Master in the team is the coordinator? Is it right to say that?
Well, maybe, but I'm just trying to run away from some terms, right? I'm trying to run away from some terms. That's why. But yes, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. In easy words, something like that. So we are just trying to make sure that the team is productive. We're trying to make sure the team is effective. We're trying to make sure that we, for me, for example, if I want to introduce myself in my team, I'll just say, okay, so I'm the Scrum Master, and mine is just to ensure the team follows agile best practices and the ways of working. Do you understand? That's usually, because within the teams, from time to time, you just introduce yourself. Maybe you have a new joiner and you want to introduce, while other people are saying, no, I'm a technical, this one, I'm a this one, da, 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 da. I just go, for me, I'm making sure that the team is working effectively using the agile ways of working, right? So that is your role as a Scrum Master. Just make sure that team is productive. Make sure that team is effective. Make sure you're facilitating all the events. Make sure your team is communicating. Make sure your team is collaborating. Make sure your team is self-organized. Make sure your team is the dream team. Do you understand? That's the role of a Scrum Master. Are we good?
Basically, the Scrum Master is the coach.
We're not coach. We're different from agile coaches, right? However, from time to time, we coach our team members. So part of actually the functions of a Scrum Master, you also need to coach both your PO and your team members from time to time. And please, when I say coach, you're only coaching them in the agile ways of working. Please don't coach them on their skills. Don't coach them on their skills because they're professionals when they brought them into the team. The only thing is you look out for them. If you feel, say for example, you do skills metrics for your team, and some people are lacking in some areas and all that. Yeah, you can find a way, speak with the right people, organize trainings and all that. I can say, for example, you're a developer. how do you want me to train you as a developer, as a Scrum Master? I don't have the technical skills to coach you to be so, but I have the technical skills to tell you how to work as a Scrum Master, not tell you exactly how to work, but show you the agile ways of working, right? But on your skills, you're a professional. So that's one of the things say for example, a team is transitioning. One of the things you look out for is to make sure that that team has the technical skills to carry out the tasks, those requirements and business priorities. Those are one of the first things you check when you join a team as a Scrum Master. Do these people have the technical skills of carrying out, whatever project? But if the team is already existing, please have it at the back of your mind that to an extent, yes, they are professionals already. However, probably if you now do skills metrics for them and then you see some places some people are lacking, you can do some simple pairings without making it so obvious. So for example, you have been a developer for 10 years and you have been good, don't get me wrong. Some people can be there for 10 years and they don't know nada, right? Let's say you're very good, very effective. And me, I just joined. Maybe I'm just 3 months old in developing. Don't you think if I work hand in hand with the 10 years guy, the person sharing knowledge for me, and then sharing knowledge with me and all that, developing me and all, before you know, you will have 2 excellent developers within the team. Do you understand? So you can do those kind of pairing. That's why I said, I will not agree to that kingdom come, that our hands are not in the work. We're in the work because we're making sure that work is happening, right? So all those kind of things. Scrum Master work is not for you to just chill and say, oh, okay, and let me facilitate. Well, yeah, it's time for daily stand-up. It's way more than that. Making sure your team is moving forward. I don't want this session to be about Scrum Masters Live, but it's okay to ask your questions, right? But don't worry, we have a lot of catch-up question and answer for Scrum Masters as we go on. So let me stop the recording here.
So please, can I ask a question? Why agile delivery, the management, are they the leaders or what they are the positions?
What do you mean? Come again with
agile management.
Delivery manager.
Yeah. Are they the leaders?
Okay. So you
or
see,
what's their own position on the project?
Okay. So I wish you had listened to, because of my time, I won't like to go deep in this. Now, the agile delivery manager is not part of the Scrum team. It's the Scrum team. I'm trying to explain to you that everybody were equal within the Scrum team, but doesn't mean that we don't have bosses outside of the team. We don't have people we're accountable to. We're accountable to some executives. We're accountable to some, those are different levels. Now, the agile delivery manager, he's in his own different cadre. He's the one accountable for delivery of what we are doing in our own team, right? But he's not a part of the team, so he cannot interfere entirely into our team. However, definitely there's a kind of interference somewhere, but he's not going to come into our team to start telling us how to work or anything. Do you understand? So he's ensuring that those things are delivered. The truth is, for agile delivery manager, those are one of the first things you're going to do when we take you up on it. I don't want to overflog it, but you're outside of the Scrum team. However, you're going to, in blue sky now, you're going to work with the team to see how it goes, right? So me saying you're outside of the Scrum team just means that you're not part of that Scrum team of PO, SM, and developers. But you're going to be working with different teams. For example, as an ADM, you have people to deliver. You remember, okay, I said probably like a house, right? And some people are doing the body of the house, which is foundation, raising it up and doing the roof. Then you have another set of team that focused on the interior, blah, 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 blah. You are the agile delivery manager. Your main work is to deliver that house at the end of the day, right? So, but you have different silo teams working differently to make you achieve what you want to achieve. So you are going to be working with those teams, but not in the teams. You're going to be working with the team, but not in the team. You will get that clearly as time goes on. I don't want us to use this session because we still have a lot to do tonight. We need to do this tonight. So I don't want us to overflog it. Oladoto, quickly.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to ask if this class is also for business analysis students.
So have you not heard me say business analysis since? Definitely, it's for everybody to learn from. If you don't know the ceremonies, say for example, you see business analysts, please don't how do I put it? Don't even think of watering yourself down. You're like the second PO, so to say. As I said, the PO is the vision. So the first set of work that happens inside, a team is that PO giving the team the vision and the business priorities. And then the BAs take that vision and business priorities and turn it into what the team is going to work with. So the first hand after the PO collecting those information and working with it are the BAs. In fact, I wouldn't need to talk too much. Remember this, I will note your name now, Oladotu. When you are tired of being a BA, come and tell me. The work you do within the team, you grow beards when you are done. You have a lot of work to do within the
I'm
team.
looking forward to that.
When you want to run, call me. Don't call anybody. When you want to run from writing stories and call me. I'll hold you. So you have a lot of work to do within the team. You'll be the first set of people collecting the information, turning it into acceptance criteria, turning it into user stories, writing wireframes, doing process maps, making sure
Don't
that
scare him away.
You said?
Don't scare him away.
I'm not scaring him away. Don't mind me. Just on a lighter note, I'm not scaring him away. Debbie, do you have a question or you just want to rescue him? All right.
I'm just rescuing him.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Sorry,
Thank you so much.
question, please.
Thanks so much.
Sorry.
Grow old.
So,
sorry,
sorry. Potentially, how many projects can a Scrum Master be involved in an organization?
So it depends on your organization. So I'll just use myself as an example. I have 3 teams that I'm working with now. It depends on, I have people that are working on 5, I have people working on 1. So it depends. So it just really, I'll just put it that way. It depends on your team. Some teams have very complex projects. So it depends on the complexity of your project. It also depends on the availability of resources within your organization. So that would determine where they are placing, because they, of course, everybody wants to maximize their resources. So, if they put a Scrum Master in a small 1 team, for example, and they don't have over so much work to do, right? They can just bring the Scrum Master to another team, So it depends. Don't let me just overflog it. It depends on the complexity of the organization. It depends, but some Scrum Masters, 1 team, 1 Scrum Master. But in organizations, you see them with 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams, even 5. 4 and 5 is usually rare, but it depends. But on an average, 3 teams, 2 teams, hardly do I see 1 these days, except if the team is very large or something, I don't know. But there shouldn't be any large team anyways. You shouldn't have more than like 10 plus or minus, in a team.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, everyone. So I'm going to stop this session. Okay, I was supposed to stop recording.